Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. That's one heck of an intro. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. But we are joined for the first time, Mr. Pete Medhurst of 980. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. How are you doing on this Thursday evening?
Kyle, Mike Squared, I'm doing great. Good to be with you guys.
I like that one.
That's right. Yeah, that was our name in People magazine when they did an article on us about us being in a relationship. They called us Mike Squared. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, Reed always breaking the ice. But we need that for this weekend. The Washington Commanders are facing the Tennessee Titans, who are 2-2, Pete, on Sunday at 1 o'clock. What are your expectations for Carson Wentz versus Tennessee? Because I think we all can kind of say the offense has been struggling, and it all starts with quarterback.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, you feel for the guy because Big Red's putting in the effort. I mean, I don't think anybody doubts that. But you're just not getting the consistency in the results right now. Is it a group failure? Absolutely. It's not just a Carson Wentz failure. This is a group failure. From an execution standpoint, the offensive line has not been consistent from a pass blocking perspective. They've also faced some really good pass rushing teams. Tennessee may not necessarily be as potent as Philadelphia and Dallas at rushing the passer. That might actually help a little bit this week. But the question ultimately remains is, where is the confidence level of the player right now as he tries to find some positive results this week? And I think the inspiring story of Brian Robinson, if indeed he does, as we expect, become active this week. It may only be 3 to 5 carries from him, but if they find some positivity in that, make Tennessee have to acknowledge the run. Washington very sneakily against Dallas ran the football well for 142 yards. If Scott Turner's willing to run the ball again another 26 to 30 times, then I think that alone may help the passing game. So while the expectations aren't very high, you're anticipating opportunity that there could be a better performance coming up this week against Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope so. You really need it. Tennessee's been struggling. If we could, this could be a good game for us to kind of, get something going. And I can't believe I'm about to ask this heading into week 5, but I blame Twitter, honestly. How short is Carson Wentz's leash? You got a lot of fans right now clamoring for old Taylor Heineke.
Look, I think because Ron brought him in here, I think that leash is mighty long. I mean, Carson would have to be exceptionally bad. Now, that's not saying that can't happen.
Oh, yeah.
Carson would have to be exceptionally bad to be pulled, A, from the game, and B, replaced at all at some point during the course of the season. So, again, when you have a coach that's a general manager, he's going to do everything he can to make sure that his big free agent acquisition gets every opportunity to get it right until they prove to you that they just can't at this point.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely. And throughout the week, Curtis Samuel's been out with the illness, so we don't know if he's going to be able to go on Sunday. Jahan Dotson had the hamstring on Sunday. Probably not going to see him on Sunday. So it seems like De'Ami Brown or a guy like Cam Sims is going to be able to step up. If they're able to get this passing game up and
there it is. It is.
He loses his sound, Pete, once every episode. Usually it's about 40 minutes in.
45 minutes.
Never been 4 minutes in. But basically I think he was asking is that Jahan Dotson going to be possibly out, Curtis Samuel dealing with his illness. What do you think is going to happen with that wide receiver position? Who's going to get the majority of the snaps?
Well, I think, again, it's an opportunity maybe to target Terry a little bit more. And I think Samuel's going to play. And look, let's face it. De'Ami Brown got called out by another dude. And if that doesn't motivate you with the opportunity to play coming up this week, I don't know what will for De'Ami Brown. So good for him. We saw him get some snaps last week, and I hope he plays. And I hope Carson Wentz finds him. And then after the game, I hope he says, I want to dedicate this touchdown pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown. What's up, big fella?
Dude,
so,
that guy...
now I know Detroit won. So Amon-Ra's got the bragging rights from that standpoint. But De'Ami Brown didn't ask for that. It's not De'Ami Brown's fault that Washington picked him in front of Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I hope De'Ami gets a chance to have a moment for himself, because you go back and look at that tape at Carolina, there's a good player there. And it's just a matter of him getting comfortable now at the NFL level and doing what is expected of you as a professional receiver.
Yeah, and dude, that Pete is fired up about that. He took his glasses off. Hall, did you want to finish it before I go?
Yeah, I was going to ask something about the receivers in the passing game, but pretty much just answered that. So I'll flip to the other side of the ball. The defense has been playing the run pretty well the past 2 weeks against the Eagles. They limited Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders in that running game. Last week, they limit Tony Pollard and Zeke in that running game as well. This week, they have the big test coming up against the King, Derrick Henry. Do you think that they're going to be able to get it done 3 weeks in a row and be able to stifle a running game?
I mean, look, this is probably the most difficult man to tackle in the National Football League. You got to go in with conviction. You can't go in and arm tackle because Derrick Henry's yards after contact is immense. So this is a game where Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis get to prove that they're big boys at this. Your defensive linemen have played great in front of you. Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, I'm not sure they can play better, quite frankly. So your linebackers, your safeties have to come in and be able to clean this up this week. And that, to me, is how this game's going to be won or lost. How do you do tackling Derrick Henry? Do you, on 3rd and 4, allow that extra yard or two after contact that allows them to move the chains? Because I'm telling you, Tennessee, 3rd and 5 or less, they're going to be content to stick it in 22's belly and go get it that way rather than make Ryan Tannehill do it. They've also done a much better job of utilizing Henry in the passing game as well. So 3rd and 5, you may see a short dump off, kind of a screen out to Derrick Henry just to get him in the open field, because once that big train gets rolling, he's a tough guy to bring down in the open field.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think we all know that. But my next question for you.
I could do it. Looks easy, honestly.
0 out of 10, what is your concern level for the guard position? Obviously, Sadiq Charles is getting the start at right guard. Wes Schweitzer is in concussion protocol. I'm not sure if he got put on short-term IR or not. I can't remember. How are you feeling about that? Your concern level, 0 out of 10 for the guards?
Believe it or not, my concern level is less with Sadiq Charles playing at right guard. I think Sadiq Charles was a guy who played tackle at LSU, but I think a lot of us thought, and I do believe maybe at some point the same ends up for Cosme. I think both of them project as maulers as guards. Sadiq is a guy with that athletic ability that don't be surprised this week if you see running plays going left behind Leno and Norwell, but you also have Sadiq pulling out and moving that way because of his athleticism. You get those 3 guys out there. You saw some tremendous running last week. Williams' big run left side, the zone run behind Leno and Norwell out there on the left side. Sadiq is a great athlete for an offensive lineman, and I think you're going to see them use that creativity here in the running game. So, again, pass protection, that's a different story. That's a work in progress. But in the run game, I think it makes them stronger. And quite frankly, you can't pass protect any worse than what they were getting at that position so far. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what Sadiq Charles does at that position right now.
Yeah, a little known fact: Sadiq Charles has the best Instagram on the Washington Commanders. Just check it out. That dude is hilarious. He just seems like the funniest guy in the world. Now, President Zelensky said heading into halftime against Russia that I'm just kidding. But this pass, I know we mentioned the run defense, but this passing defense is giving up a crazy amount of yards per completion over the last few weeks. The running game got better. The run defense got better. Passing game seems to have gotten worse. What do they have to do to fix this? And is this a scheme thing, or is this just that William Jackson and Kendall Fuller just so down on themselves with all that's happening?
I was willing to say it was more of a 50-50 thing early in the season, but I think it's become quite obvious it's a personnel issue right now. Right. And I don't know what Jack can do. You play zone, they get beat. You play man, they get beat. Last week, William Jackson looked like he was in a different world on the play to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, he's out or third already as it is. Did he think somebody was behind him? I mean, he just kind of like started to chill as CeeDee Lamb kind of went to the inside. And Ron even said it. He's supposed to pinch down there and shrink that so his curl or a safety is coming over. He's supposed to pinch him down toward the safety, and he didn't do it. He just kind of like floated out to the corner flag of the end zone and watched CeeDee Lamb run in there. To me, that's a player right now that is mentally somewhere else and trying to find it, unfortunately. There's a good player in there. You don't do what he did in Cincinnati at times without having some skill. That's the tough part of this right now, is watching a guy with some ability end up as a meme to Pac-Man Jones on social media inside of a grill saying, hey, man, are you in there? Because they're cooking you right now. So if I'm William Jackson III, I'm a motivated man coming out there this week against Tennessee.
Yeah, no, you real fast. You mentioned them, but I will just say shout out to friend of the show, Cam Curl, highest graded safety according to PFF in the NFL last week. So he did his
Cam
part.
Curl, tremendous player, guy that played both corner and safety at Arkansas on a bad team. And when guys play on bad teams, there's kind of this unfair assumption that they can't play. Cam Curl has put that narrative to rest fairly quickly so far in the National Football League.
Definitely. And coming up on a contract soon, so hopefully they can get that worked out so he's here for the next couple of years as well. But during the week, Ron Rivera had an interview with JP Finley, and he asked.
There it is. Oh, it happens every week, Kyle. Stop playing it off. I'm just kidding. I know, I'm just kidding. I just like that.
It's Mike coming into us from the Ukraine, where internet might be a little tough right now.
Just got off the phone with President Zelensky. He says that. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Internet is horrible today. Yeah, so JP Finley had an interview with Ron Rivera earlier this week, and he essentially said, I'm paraphrasing, that if something does, there's going to be some changes coming soon if they don't get it turned around. A lot of people are speculating, is he talking about the quarterback, the coordinators? What are those changes that you think he was talking about in the interview?
Don't think it's coordinators. Scott Turner got an extension at the beginning of the year, so he's here for 3 more years. So you don't have to worry about that. Probably not Del Rio either. My assumption is it's in the secondary. It's going to be St. Juice, maybe taking over at one of the outside corners, and either Fuller moves inside or maybe Jackson has to move inside at that point, because you can't keep running the same people out there. As I said, the more you watch, I think it becomes more of a personnel issue right now. Offensively, as I said earlier in the show, Wentz has got to be really bad. They've already made changes at offensive line. Ron said he had that difficult talk with Turner. I mean, to me, that's an easy talk. The film doesn't lie. You put it on, and Trey just wasn't playing very well. And I don't think he's healthy either. That's part of it as well. But I think one of the changes has already taken place on the offensive line. I think the next one is probably in the secondary, because we know there is no depth at linebacker. You know, maybe John Bostic gets some snaps at some point in there instead of Cole Holcomb if Holcomb is not playing well. But other than that, I would think those changes he's talking about come in the secondary here at some point.
Yeah, now to wrap this up, Pete, only have a couple more questions for you. But what are some of your keys to winning for Washington this Sunday? The Titans offense are first in the NFL in red zone conversion rate at 90% through 4 games, which is just disgusting. So what are your keys for Washington in order to get this W?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And that conversion rate is so good because they can run the football. When you can run the football in the red zone, it just gives you a tremendous advantage because the field shrinks. So the defense doesn't have to cover as much ground from a passing perspective, but they have the ability to just turn and hand it to one guy and he can run it down your throat. I would say the same thing has to be Washington's game plan this week. You got to win the time of possession battle. Shorten the game on Tennessee a little bit. If you shorten the game where Tennessee can't necessarily depend on Derrick Henry at all times offensively, and you put the game in Ryan Tannehill's hands a little bit more, I think it gives Washington a great chance to win. And again, as I said earlier, I hope Scott Turner is buoyed by the way they ran the ball last week. I know you got Carson Wentz. I know he's got a great right arm. But if you can't protect it and he can't stand back there, for 4 or 5 seconds and wait for guys to get open, because right now he's throwing to open guys. he's not throwing guys open, and there's a great difference. And he's a guy that needs a clean pocket around him to throw. So how do you do that? You get defenders out of the box, thinking that they have to acknowledge the pass. And if you get safeties and linebackers keying on the run, that's less traffic for Terry McLaurin to have to negotiate when he runs his routes out there. And I think that's going to help quite a bit. I just hope Scott Turner looks at that film from last week and really believes in what he was seeing out there, because if he does, I think it can make his offense a lot better. Remember, Joe Gibbs was running Air Coryell the first 5 games with Joe Theismann back in 1981. The record was 0-5. They had a come-to-Jesus meeting. They figured out, wait a minute, let's stick this in the belly of 44 more, and it changed Washington's football fortunes for the next 9 years. Let's hope Scott Turner kind of sees that same thing from an offensive perspective.
Yeah, and your point about Terry McLaurin, that would make a lot of sense given that the Tennessee defense is 28th in the league right now in giving up passing yards. So hopefully Terry McLaurin does get a healthy amount. My next question for you, Jamin Davis. I've seen a lot of people saying he's having the best games of his career, obviously very short career up to this point, but he's playing very well. Do you expect him to continue playing well down the stretch?
I think the amount of responsibilities given to him has shrunk a little bit. I think it's allowed him to play more free, because you see a guy run into the football with great intensity right now. And I think that's the important thing. He's playing freely. He's not thinking. When you think, you're not running to the football at full speed. You're too consumed looking around like, hey, where am I supposed to be going here? Am I supposed to be going there? You got a guy that's just attacking the football right now, and he's making more plays as a result. And I think that evolution as a player and the player development is finally starting to click a little bit with him. And look, if you have an athlete like that, put him in attack mode. That's where he's going to be best served. And I think they've done a much better job of utilizing the skills that he has by putting him in attack mode here. Hopefully the progress that he's making continues.
Yeah, and then, Pete, my last question for you is kind of be a hybrid one, but just your score prediction very fast. And then the second one is Brian Robinson, obviously coming back to practice, impressing people, looking like he hasn't missed a beat, which is absolutely insane after taking 2 gunshot wounds. But because Washington has 3 great running backs on their roster right now, not great, J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, and Brian Robinson. So once he comes back, how do you think the snaps are going to give up?
I think Brian Robinson's your man if he's healthy. If he looks the same way he did in the preseason, Ron basically told you that. But what it does is, especially with Jahan Dotson being down for the next couple of weeks, it puts Antonio Gibson, I think, in a unique space. You're going to see him more utilized probably like Deebo Samuel. You may see him run some, but you're going to see him as a pass catcher more. I saw him at Memphis, played against us at Navy, tremendous player. Obviously, as everybody well knows, he's a pure wide receiver. Ron wanted to make a full transition to running back with him. Well worth it from an athletic experiment standpoint. But Antonio Gibson is a beast of a wide receiver. And we've seen that already in his ability to catch the football. So I think in a way, it makes Washington's offense even stronger. You got Brian able to move the ball on the ground. Now Scott can get creative with both Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick. And you don't really know what they're going to do. Imagine if Gibson's out there in the slot, Robinson's in the backfield. You've got Gibson now locked up on either a safety or a linebacker. That's a matchup advantage for Washington because you don't have to question his ability to catch the football. I think it's a low-scoring game. If it gets to high scoring, that means Washington's doing something that they haven't done in a couple of weeks, means they're finishing more drives, means they're, scoring touchdowns. I think Joey Sly plays a key role here. Yeah. I think Washington probably wins this thing 19-13 coming up this week.
That's what I like to hear, Pete. We need some hope being brought back into here because these past 3 weeks, man, have people been driven just into the ground. Pete,
dude, it's been miserable. Imagine taking phone calls for 3 hours, 5 days a week from miserable Washington fans and having to talk about Dan Snyder more because, we want to talk about football. We want to talk about wins. We want to talk about positivity. We don't want to talk about Dan Snyder talking in front of Congress anymore. We're tired of that.
Right.
Talk about something else.
I couldn't imagine being you and having to deal with that. I completely stayed off Twitter the last 3 weeks. I thought it was bad after week 1 where people were still complaining somehow after we won. All of a sudden, they're all chicken littles right now and the sky's falling down. And I don't blame them, but it's Jesus Christ, it gets tough.
It does indeed, my friend. It does indeed.
Absolutely.
Makes me sad.
Pete, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know you're a very busy man. You might have more jobs than Logan Paulson at this point, but I can't thank you enough for taking some time out for us, sir. Been a fan of yours for years, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to be able to talk some football with you, sir.
Definitely.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for asking.
Of course. Thank you, brother. Have a good night.
Thank you, man.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Pete Medhurst.
I'm so happy we just had him on. He's so good.
I've been wanting to have him on for a while, man. Just a clean voice, and I love the way he thinks because I think similarly.
Yeah, we need to. We forgot to do this while he was on. We need to show up the DNA test that I got that proves that he's my father. Why didn't we do that this time? I got nervous. Why didn't you guys bring it up?
Dude, you are ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, let's get into our fan questions. Before we are joined by our next guest. But real quick, I just wanted to get your guys' opinions with Brian Robinson. When do you think he's going to come back? I think he has a chance to play Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if he's already running around like they're saying that he is, then I wouldn't put anything past him. This is crazy.
I think he gets some snaps on Sunday. I mean, I think that he's been out on the practice field. They said they wanted to see how
he's already been labeled out, bro.
Has he? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think they ruled him out.
That's per
I don't
ESPN.
like to put labels on people.
The ESPN said on the website. It's just that's all.
Yeah, well, they're not the worldwide leader.
I mean,
in sports
I know that I have him on my fantasy teams, and there's an O next to his name, but I don't think they've lifted the O yet. But he's still projected points, so that's why I'm like,
okay.
I don't know. But I think they said they wanted to see how he responded after yesterday's practice, and he was out there running drills, running around, taking handoffs, taking reps. So I definitely think that seeing how he is throughout the rest of this week. Well, I guess it's just tomorrow because today's Thursday. I think he gets a couple carries on Sunday, maybe even some red zone carries to kind of boost the morale and kind of give the stadium and the team a boost or a jolt of energy or something.
Just remember, in order for that to happen, we have to actually get in the red zone.
That is a great point.
You're absolutely right, because right now the Commanders are 11th in red zone conversion percentage at a 63% clip, but the problem is being able to get down to the red zone, and some of their touchdowns haven't even been in the red zone. But that's a win-win scenario for me, Hall. I like Brian Robinson to play this weekend, but I'm more concerned about playing Robinson this weekend, getting a healthy amount of carries, and then the quick turnaround on Thursday he's not available for. I'd much rather what you said, where he comes in that kind of rotation, gets a handful of carries, just get him up to running, up to speed, and ready for Thursday, where you can elevate his uptick, you could say, because obviously coming off the injury, you don't want to put him to the fire all ASAP, and then something goes wrong. You don't want to have that happen. You want to make sure that he is good to go, especially after something like this. This isn't like a normal ankle, and like a toe or leg injury. The dude took 2 bullets to the leg, and a couple of weeks later, here he is.
Yeah, the injury report literally says gunshot twice. That's pretty serious. I don't know.
I loved his response.
Most people don't live through that.
What didn't he? He got interviewed by. He did a presser the other day. And they asked him about coming back. How does you getting shot and coming back, what does it make you? Have you learned anything about yourself? He's like, yeah, I'm half Wolverine. It's like, yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I've been saying that for days, dude. I was like, he's freaking Wolverine out here.
He's big dick in the media right now. Good for him. That's tight. It's a cool ass thing to say.
Dude, I want to get your guys' opinions. Did you watch the Ron Rivera presser where he was cussing?
I feel like once you've seen one, you've usually seen them all. But this one was apparently different. I didn't watch it because but I got to say, I heard from what I read on it, this was amazing, and I wish I saw it, but I'm too depressed. So,
well, basically, he's just admitting that he's pissed off and he's fed up, and everything like that. But
let me guess, that's not good enough to the fan base. Because they're show some emotion. Now they're don't show that much emotion.
Well, no, it's not that. It's that they're saying don't show the emotion at the media. They didn't do anything wrong, Ron.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, the media is the good guys. I forgot about that. Yeah, they're not giant pieces of shit.
At the referees on the Dallas game, and people are still he's just sitting there with his arms crossed. It's he yelled at the refs multiple times. What do you want him to do? Yell at them after every call? Come on.
Right, and it's not like Rivera is literally cussing at the media. He's trying to get a message across to the fan base that he does care. He's pissed off about where they are. And so he's using the question to be able to voice it to the fan base. The fact that people were responding and saying, don't talk to the media like that. They didn't do anything. If I was a media member, I would bring it all the way back to the summer. And I'd be like, so Ron, tell me what's next. The Panthers didn't want you.
The fans here don't want you. Like, just pull the Carson. One more loss and you're out of the league.
Before we get joined by our next guest, and we'll wrap this up with our fan questions of breaking down this game on Sunday. What do you guys think with the Carson Wentz situation? Because I think it's very telling with what Rivera said in regards to changes. Him saying that they aren't at the point of making changes, but they're definitely thinking about it if things continue to go down the path that they are. So my question is, let's start with Carson Wentz. When do you think that the earliest that could happen if things continue to go south?
I think he's got a very, very my bad. I think he's got a very long leash. Not only was he picked by Ron Rivera, his contract, and I think that Rivera is going to give him every opportunity to show that he can be the guy and that it's just a slump and that he can end up winning some games for you and putting up some numbers because he doesn't want to be wrong. And also he wants to protect his investment, man. They gave up a lot for him. However, if we start playing similar to how we've been playing and all of a sudden it comes up and Wentz is approaching that 70% mark of the snaps and we have no chance of playoffs or anything, at that point, maybe, I don't think they will because I think they're too prideful, but that would be the point where I'm like, okay, let's get him out, because you got to get that second baby,
To be perfectly honest, dude, I don't want to be there. Like, I don't want to be at the point where we're talking about a quarterback change, just because that would mean that things are like personally dreadful, right? Like that would mean that this thing is continuing to go down. And look, I do think that Carson has a lot of the blame involved, and what Pete said is 100% right. You're not seeing a guy who's comfortable throwing with anticipation. He's only throwing what's there, and in the NFL, those are dime a dozen, dude. That does not come around often. Or the other flip side, whatever. You know what I mean? But so I think that there is something to that because the offense is literally inept and they cannot continue to go down this route because this defense is not built to limit. They're built to be able to strangle you to death. Basically, we want to be able to force you into passing with getting up on you, and in that way Montez Sweat can get after the passer like we saw in the Jags game where Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne could get involved. That's when this defense is at their best. Right now, Carson Wentz is not helping them out by not giving them points. And if that continues, if the offense continues to be just horrible, especially this week when Tennessee's defense passing yards, they're 28th in the league. If he can't go over the 250 mark, I think there is a big issue there, especially if he can't throw the ball downfield. But that being said, I'm not sure if I would give it to Thursday. I don't know. Like, if we lose this game, like 30 to 7, 30 to 10.
If there's no improvement this week.
Right. Like, I think that there is a good cause for Thursday, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. If it was me personally, if they continue to play like they've been playing for the past two games, just like you said, inept, can't move the ball past the 50-yard line, when you are in opportune chances, you're shooting yourself in the foot again. I would definitely give it to I've been saying me personally, if I was the coach, I would give it to after the Bears game. If he's still playing bad after that Bears game, he's not moving the ball, the offense is still inept. Just like I said, they're just moving backwards basically. That's when I would make the switch. But like Reed said, I think that they're too stubborn to admit that they were wrong, which, I mean, that's not different from any other coach in the NFL, to be honest with you. But I think that it would be probably around that week 10 or 11 range where, like Reed said, it's creeping up on that 70%. I think Mitch Tisler was my phone.
Sure, buddy. Sure, pal. Sure, pal.
The hall sounds like a desert night. It's like.
Yeah, I think Mitch Tisler said that around week 13 in that Giants game would be that 70% snaps for Carson Wentz. So I could see them pulling the plug maybe around week 10.
Right at 69%.
Yeah, see, like, it's funny because I was listening to 106 earlier, and Brian Mitchell did a great job. He interviewed Peter Rosenberg, and Peter Rosenberg brought up a great point in saying that this game against the Titans and the Bears, these two games, like, those are winnable games, you could say, quote unquote. Obviously, we're not saying that Washington is better than what they are. I'm just saying that they are winnable to an extent if you compare it to the Packers, who's coming up in 3 weeks, right? With those two, you cannot lose these two games. So if you come out and lose to the Titans, you have to be able to steal one. And that's what I mean by making that pull for Chicago, getting that W just to be able to get one. You know what I'm saying? But you never know what's going to go down, man. in all honesty.
But they wouldn't even make it for Chicago because at that point, like you said, they've been propping up Carson Wentz so much that he's our guy. We wanted him. He'd basically be saying that like, hey, you're not good enough. We don't want you anymore. And then if you do try to go back to Carson Wentz after that Chicago game, like how are you gonna justify that by saying, oh, we just put Taylor in for that one game, and that's like Carson Wentz's confidence is going to be shot. I don't know if it will be, but just from his track record, you could say that his confidence might be shot. And then where were we at after that, you know?
Yeah, and B. Mitch, I thought was on fire today talking about Carson.
I was listening too. I know exactly. what
it was awesome. Basically talking about you need like an alpha male, somebody that takes control over the offense, and an alpha male is not somebody who gets concerned or shook about a rookie quarterback being drafted. You just got paid a contract. You should be thinking that everything is okay. And it doesn't seem like that at the moment. And that's exactly how I feel with this offense. When you look at quarterbacks around the league, that their offense is their baby, right? Like they're going up, they're talking to the offensive line, they're talking to the wide receivers, trying to figure out how to be able to do this because they're in control of what's happening out there. Right now, it's so easy to blame Scott Turner, but at some point, you guys got to figure out what's going on because you're the one out in the field. So let's go. And that's what I think Brian Mitchell was saying, and I wholeheartedly agree with him. But now we are joined by our next guest, Wizzy F. Baby. How you doing, brother? Are you there?
Wake up, baby. WizSkins just posted.
Can you guys hear me fine?
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing?
Good. The best Instagram in the game goes to this guy right here.
Appreciate
my
that.
favorite.
Appreciate that.
Hey, Wizzy. So we're going to wrap up this episode with you. We're going to answer fan questions, and then we're going to do our game predictions for this Tennessee game and our predictions for MVP as well. So this first question I want to get your opinion on, brother. This is from the Colonel. Would love to hear your thoughts on the signing of Landon Collins by the New York Giants.
My first thought was how many Washington fans are going to feel like we messed up somehow and missed out by not signing Landon Collins. I'm like, oh, I can't believe the outcry it's going to be. But it was interesting, especially because the Landon Collins break from New York wasn't on the best terms. So it was kind of, to see him go back there was interesting. He might be desperate. They might be desperate, but we'll see how it plays out. I wish nothing but the best for him until the day he plays us. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I wish him the best. I'm happy for him, but I'm not going to say that I hope that he does well in New York. I'm not going to lie about that. I hope he doesn't do well, and not because I don't like Landon, just because he's on the Giants. I can't. 100%. Yeah, I can't bring myself to do that. But like, it's just funny. Because Landon now has said yes to being the linebacker, like the Giants came out and said that. So where was the disconnect, right? And look, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think like a lot of people are pointing this at the front office saying, again, here they are. They can't bring in Landon. He goes to the Giants, blah, blah, blah. But like this is my whole point is 2 weeks ago y'all were screaming about a linebacker, and then this week it's about bring Eric Flowers back. And like where does it end? You know what I mean? If we did sign a linebacker back then, we wouldn't be able to sign Eric Flowers now. So I don't understand what's happening here. But that being said, I'm happy for Landon. But I don't think it's a detriment to this coaching staff at all. That was a contract that we were forced into essentially, and it was a good one at first. I was happy about it. It's just unfortunately it took too long to make things gel. But I'm glad that he did have some success here. I didn't want him to leave on a negative note, and I didn't think he did. But one thing I will say, Wizzy, I think Dave Gettleman had a lot to do with his departure in New York.
Yeah, I feel like Dave Gettleman's ruined all sorts of shit, to be honest with you. But yeah, Landon Collins. I mean, the disconnect was Landon Collins probably just putting too much stock in himself. I think that him denying a position, thinking that he was gonna get signed easy no matter what. Somebody was gonna take a chance on him. All of a sudden, it's week 4, and the Giants are the only team coming to Colin in the last couple months. So he's like, yeah, you know what? I'll do it. I don't care anymore. But it is funny. Shout out to Landon Collins. Love him. But yeah, obviously just don't play well against us, but he's a good asset to that defense. I think you would fit them very well, especially as a linebacker.
And I do wonder what the staff front office is going to do with the guard position, given the fact that I think Wes Schweitzer might be going on IR for his concussion issues, just because the severity of it. So we're not sure how long he's going to be gone. You got to get a replacement in here, man, or at least some depth. And I think Eric Flowers is the kind of attitude guy you need to bring in here to bring some aggressiveness to that front seven to be maulers again. But what about you, Hall?
Yeah, when I first saw it, I said that he'd be playing the linebacker role. My first thoughts were like, oh, like didn't they want him to play that linebacker role here? And But I forgot that they asked him to take a pay cut, and then they got Wentz, and they're like, "Hey, can you take another pay cut?" So that's why they let go of him. Otherwise, he probably would have still been here,
Yeah.
honestly. So that's when, and then obviously the emergence of Derek Forrest. Like, I think a lot of people forgot about him due to last year. He was out with injury. He didn't really make any splashes like that. And then
It's true. It's a good
obviously,
point.
after that Jacksonville game, I think a lot of people were surprised and like, okay, Derek Forrest can kind of take over that Landon Collins role, put Cam Curl back where he's like his natural position, playing in the box, kind of that Buffalo role where he excels at. So, yeah, as the people reminded me in my comments that he definitely would have been here had it not been for that second pay cut after the Carson Wentz comments or signing. So, yeah, happy that he got back on the roster though. I mean, he's still a good player in the league, or he can be at least.
That's true. And Wizzy, this next question is from the Colonel. This with Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel both presumably sidelined this weekend, will we see more of Cam Sims and Diami Brown, or will we be featuring Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson in a ground attack?
I'm thinking ground attack. I think you might see a little more JD this week, maybe more Logan. Maybe he'll get more involved in the passing game. I think Cam Sims and Brown are who they are. I would like to see them come onto the scene. I have more faith in Cam than I do Damani, but you never know. But if I had to bet money, I would say we'll probably be leaning towards maybe getting more of the backs out there and playing a more conservative, run-heavy possession game type of thing. That's how I think we're going to play anyway. So the fact that we're missing receivers just adds to that.
For me, Colonel, I do disagree to an extent with Wizzy just because I do think that we'll see more of Diami Brown and Cam Sims. I would like to see the rotation be gelled and 50-50 essentially. But the reason being I say that is because their defense is 28th against the pass in passing yards. Diami Brown hitting deep downfield, those passing yards I want to be able to capitalize on. For the past couple weeks, it seems like when we try to go at it like the strength of us, we're going at the strength of the defense, and that's not what I want to do here. I want to be able to attack their weakness. And I know it's hard to be able to get Carson Wentz the time to be able to do it, but that being said, just get it done, dude. At some point, you just got to go out there and play football, and we can't keep playing scared. We can't keep throwing to a line of scrimmage because Carson doesn't have enough time. Make some plays, brother. Get the ball downfield and get the ball to your playmakers. Tired of this crap.
Ron already said it and put it out there that what the game plan is going to be. If people listen to his presser or would have heard his presser, he pretty much put it out there and said that he was talking going back to last year how they the 4-game winning streak where they ran the ball. I think it was 6 more times on average during that winning streak than they did, or 8 more times on average per game than during that 4-game winning streak than they did throughout the rest of the season. So I think that was him pretty much putting it into the atmosphere and putting it into the air, telling Scott Turner, like, go back. And he even referenced the Dallas game as well, how they had 140 plus yards in the ground, but they just kept shooting themselves in the foot with the penalties and whatnot. So I think he's putting it out in the atmosphere, telling Scott Turner through the media, like, we're going to run the ball more. I want to be more aggressive on the ground. Now that he has Brian Robinson back, I definitely think that's the style of football that he would like to play.
Absolutely.
And especially with but as far as Diami Brown and Cam Sims, I definitely think that it'll be more of a rotational thing, like Pete Medhurst said. I think Curtis Samuel does play. Hopefully he gets over whatever illness he has, but I think he'll be able to go to some capacity on Sunday. I just think that it'll be a rotational thing with Cam Sims and Diami Brown, but hopefully Diami makes a play. But I want to see my man Cam Sims get some run because it seems every time he's on the field, for the most part, he makes something happen.
Yeah, and to your point, Cam Sims is a much better run blocker. So if Wizzy is correct and they are going to be utilizing the running backs a lot, like you're saying, with running the ball heavily, it would make sense that Cam Sims get the majority of those snaps if he is on the field, if it's up between him and Diami Brown. I just would like to see some explosion here. It's been too much of short and shallow, and that's what they're going to bank on, and that's what I don't want happen. I don't want to go to what they think we're going to do. I want to do something different. You know what I'm saying?
To Pete's Pete's point, though, you got to actually to back off the pass rush and get those guys kind of like out the box and worried about it. You got to pound the ball. I mean, I feel like we're one of the highest teams in play action, but we run the ball probably at least in the NFL. Like, I don't know. And we need more balance, So, but I definitely feel you. Look,
it doesn't make any
I want those
sense
deep
to
shots.
me. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Every time they're in shotgun, they're running some type of play action. It's
Right.
like you haven't ran the ball for the last 5 plays. Why are you running the play action right now? So,
My whole problem with play action, it's like if you cannot hold off the speed rushers to give your quarterback enough time,
Exactly.
play action limits that even more. So you shouldn't be doing that at all. And that's probably my biggest concern and issue sometimes. It's just like in that one play, Carson holds it extra long. Like, I understand having to be dramatic with it, making sure they bite. But, dude, you have been getting killed all game. Adapt. Realize that you need to get that ball back to you and get your eyes downfield because they're coming. And that's my biggest concern is we keep blaming the O-line. But at some point, dude, you got to be able to retain information and be able to produce it and adapt to it. And it seems like that's not the case at the moment. Next question, Wizzy, for you. This from the Colonel. Isn't it about time we started rating offensive linemen off other teams' practice squads?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's something that they have in-house, a staff guy that's doing it, or they should. Any professional organization should have someone searching, and they should have a tap on that, on what team has who on their practice squad, what guys are where, and what level that they can compete at. And, you know, what it would take for you to call that team to say, hey, you know, we're trying to get that guy, or we want to sign him off your practice squad. So, I mean, at this point in time, with the O-line injuries that we are suffering, especially interior, that's definitely, they should be making some calls or something. To a free agent, to a practice squad guy, there should be some movement there.
You're absolutely right. I love the idea of the practice squad, but there is no guarantee with that guy. It's either hit or miss, right? And so with Eric Flowers, somebody like that, who you know is in the system, is big, obviously is athletic, that automatically is a positive and can produce for you in some sense, right? And Carson Wentz being a bigger quarterback, with Eric Flowers, it was harder for Taylor Heineke to see over him. Carson Wentz, you don't have that issue. Let's bring Eric Flowers in here. Let's get him at guard. Let's fix it. I would much rather go down the vet path for this in-season kind of fix. When you need the emergency, I'd rather go down with the vet, and so I'd rather go after Eric Flowers. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm not sure if Eric wants to play again, but I just hope that they get it done because we need some help up there. The guys are beaten up right now. We need some reinforcements. Reed?
It is interesting that Eric Flowers isn't on any roster.
Right.
Right. That's why I'm thinking, like, there's got to be something going on.
Maybe
like,
an
he's
injury?
Be turning it down or something, right? Because he's too good. And you're right. Like, somebody like Eric Flowers, like, if you look at our offensive line, our starters, and a lot of our backups are mainly finesse type players. That none of them are really the big, strong bruisers that just going to go out there and knock you on your ass. Eric Flowers is one of those guys. He always has been. So I would like that. I think anytime you can get youth, it's a good thing. But yeah, at this point in the season, I think you need people that can step in and play immediately. So I'm more on the veteran route, and I'm sorry I did step away. James wasn't responding, so I went into the room, and he apparently figured out, he was watching TV in our bedroom. Apparently he figured out how to unlock the top drawer in the nightstand and started taking staples and pens and shit out of it and just laying on them.
It's so funny. Katie called me at work today. She was like, I'm going to take the bad wife award. She went up to change Cash's sheets, and we have like Cash gated in, but somehow it got unlocked, and she came out of the room, and he had climbed up the stairs by himself. And like turned around, and she was like, "What are you doing up here?" Yeah, dude,
babies are crazy.
He is
they
insane.
Don't care.
Where's this ambition from, bro? Stop. Chill out.
Because he's never learned the consequences.
It's true.
James climbs on the TV stand the other day. The baby flipped backwards and landed on the back of his head, and I was just looking at it. I was like, "Oh my god, he's dead! Like, oh, he's paralyzed." And then whenever he was fine, luckily his big ass head broke his fall. But
all right, Wizzy, let's get into our next question from our Discord chat server, where all of our most loyal fans are, or not fans, supporters are. This one is from Tim Towner, Wizzy. It's a great question. How many carries will Brian Robinson get if he plays, and who would you leave inactive if he were to play? Jonathan Williams, Armani Rogers, Chris Paul, Cole Turner?
That is a good question. That is a really good question. It's a tough question. I'm not really sure. I would say anywhere between, hopefully 8 to 12 would seem good to me. If he gets 8 to 12 carries off being shot, I would be like, wow.
Yeah.
Who would you take off? I'd assume a tight end. I would assume a tight end, preferably. Probably a running back, but that's a tough call. I don't know who you take out. Maybe Williams, because that's kind of their similar styles. One is replacing the other. Williams got the spot because Robinson couldn't make it. So, but Williams has been playing good, and I don't know if you just have full faith in Robinson to say, well, scratch Williams, but I don't know. That's a tough question.
Yeah, this one, I wondered about earlier, Tim. because if they put Wes Schweitzer on IR, doesn't that open up the spot for Brian Robinson? If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm wrong about that, or Tyler Larson, maybe that's the reason for it. And so, yeah, regardless, it would have to go down. I'm not sure if it's going to be a tight end because if you're losing Jahan Dotson, that would essentially mean you're going to be running the ball more, right? Like you guys have talked about, you want more tight ends for those jumbo packages type stuff. Just in case something goes wrong, you want to be able to have that emergency filler there. And so, like the tight ends, it's tricky, but I would probably say Chris Paul, unfortunately. And it's crappy to say that, but you still have Trey Turner backing up Sadiq Charles, and you have other guys there as well that could help out, and somewhat like Wes Martin. So you have those type of dudes that are there. I'm not really sure. I wouldn't do Jonathan Williams though. I take that back. If Brian Robinson plays, take Jonathan Williams out. Unfortunately, Jonathan Williams played great last week, but they do the same exact thing.
I would say somewhere between probably 8 to 12 carries. Got to agree with Wizzy. So yeah, I think 8 to 12 would be ideal. If he can get more than 12, that would be icing on the cake, or gravy, whatever you want to call it. So and then as far as deactivating, I don't know how it would feel. Like you guys said, Jonathan Williams has actually played pretty good when he's gotten his touches, but I feel like also if you deactivate him, you got a guy like Cole Turner with Jahan Dotson going out. You need a little bit more pickup in the passing game. I know Amani Rodgers is vital on special teams, which is why he's been getting the reps over Cole Turner. But I think that if Cole Turner is ready, he's healthy enough. I think he's an asset in the red zone, and he helped his passing game out a little bit.
Yeah, not as much of an asset as Sammis Reyes. Isn't that right, Reed?
Oh, nobody's that thick on the lower half. That dude's got Serena Williams ass. He's just a thick old boy. Mm-hmm. He looks like he's half centaur, just a horse lower half. Just
oh my god,
thick and dense.
Before we get into actually breaking down this game for the third time, let's get this last question from Scott Hartley in the UK. Thank you, Scott. Wizzy, what do you believe the continual starts are down to? Is it scheme, coaching, players, and do you believe the ship can be turned?
That has to be there's a disconnect somewhere. I've coached ball myself, and anytime where your team's starting flat, that's what he's asking, right? About the team starting flat.
Yeah, about the poor start. Yeah, I didn't include it. My bad.
Anytime I feel like that's going on, there's some kind of disconnect. Maybe the team isn't as confident in game plan, or they're not as confident in knowing the game plan and running it, knowing their assignments when things are out there, or they're unprepared. And when they're out there, maybe they're seeing things they didn't see during the week, or they're seeing things they didn't think they would have to adjust to, which is causing them to play slower. But somewhere there's a disconnect. So I'm not sure exactly who that falls on, if the coaches have to relay it better for the players to get it, or enough players just need to be on board with what the coaches are saying. But there's a disconnect somewhere. I do think that the ship can be turned. There's only been 4 games. It's 1/4 of the season. There's a lot of season left. Ron Rivera is known for turning some ships around. So I do think the ship can be turned.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to try to be as careful as possible as I say this, Scott. But it's an accumulation of things. But the injuries, I think, are the biggest reason for why, especially to the O-line. Because what that did is that made them change the offense, right? And it forced them to go to the quick game. But the unfortunate part is that, like Pete Medhurst said earlier, Carson isn't throwing guys open. So he's throwing the guys that are open. And when you're doing the short game, that doesn't really happen, right? And that's my biggest concern, is that usually in these type of situations where the O-line's banged up, offense is putrid, the quarterback will fall back on some things that he can do, maneuvering in the pocket, throwing to his checkdowns, getting the chunk plays like that Devontae Adams type play that Aaron Rodgers used to throw. That's the dink and dunk. If they need some 10 yards, that's what they go to. You don't have that with this offense. And I think it's an accumulation of things, but I don't blame the OC as much as most people. But I think the injuries have caused the pressure, which has caused Carson to not play the game that he should. And that's what goes into being about the alpha, being in control of things. It just seems like he's a chicken with his head cut off at the moment. And so it's an accumulation of things, but most of all injuries, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely combination of things. I think that they're starting slow. I think Scott Turner has really been struggling when he has to move away from his scripted plays in the beginning of the game. When that's not working, it really just seems like, and it's not that they might be bad play calls. Some of them, it's just people aren't doing their jobs, and it's a cut. So yeah, it's definitely a combination of things. Can they turn it around? 100%, they can. Yeah, you're kind of already seen some signs of it, right? The defense has played better over the last 2 weeks. They played a lot better last week. They gave the offense more than enough chances to get back in that game and to make some things happen. The offense just has to click, and we've also seen what the offense can be against a pretty good Jacksonville team. And I know that was week 1. I know that was early, and they really only played 2 good quarters. But even with those 2 good quarters, they still put up enough points and still look very impressive to the point that we were all super high on them after week 1. So they can do it. I think that they're definitely going to start playing better. It can't be this bad, right? Like, we're way too talented for this. That it can't happen. At least it shouldn't happen. If it does happen,
that's what I said on Monday.
I'm probably going to end up, I don't know, going to a playground and kicking some kids or something just because I'm going to be that angry.
Ridiculous. Now, let's go to our next question. This is from Andy Lockhart in the UK. Oi, thank you, Andy.
Oi.
I'm going to go to you, Hall. This is the start, breaking down this game against the Titans. His question to you, Hall: how do we stop Derrick Henry from running all over us like X's and O's?
X's and O's. Well, you got to definitely stay in your gaps. You got to play discipline on the front. The front four got to play discipline, stay in their gaps, not over-rush their rushing lanes. The linebackers got to play sound, be able to scrape off of the linemen, scrape off of blocks, be able to get into the run fits and fill gaps. And, yeah, pretty much you just can't let him get to the second level, third level of your defense without basically getting, like, touched through the hole or outside, whatever type of run it is. But if you can get some hands on him at the line of scrimmage, right around the line of scrimmage, and gang tackle him, then you can get him down. But if he's getting to the second level of your defense easily, then you're going to have problems because you're going to have safeties and cornerbacks out there trying to tackle him. And that's basically like throwing pebbles at, like, the Juggernaut from X-Men. So, just a bunch of gang tackling, staying disciplined in your run gaps, and the linebackers playing their run fits and being more disciplined in the run game.
Yeah, and the best way that I can say it, Andy, is like Derrick Henry is like a train, whereas once he builds up momentum, it's deadly. But when he starts, that's when the best opportunity is to cross the tracks, so to speak. So with Derrick Henry, you have to be able to stop his feet. You want him to shuffle. You want to have to make him juke. When he's going down straight line, that's when things are a problem. So that's why the defensive line have to be able to control the trenches. Like Hall said, control their run gaps. Do not get out of position. When you give him 5 yards, you're already at a disadvantage. He will run over you. And then the other thing with Derrick Henry, when you do that gang tackle, like Hall said, where you have a bunch of bodies on him trying to stifle the yardage in front of him, make sure somebody's in there punching that ball out. I want Derrick Henry's arm to be purple by the end of this game. Punch the crap out of his arm any chance that you can whenever he gets the ball and try to get that ball out because we need some turnovers. And somebody like Derrick Henry thinking twice in a game like this, that's something that's good for Washington, and that would help them later on in the game, in my personal opinion. Yeah. What about you, Wizzy? Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to me, it would be stopping them on early downs, first and second down, forcing them into third and long, which is keeping them out of a rhythm of wanting to run the ball continuously. Point. You keep them in third and long, force them to pass more, get them behind the sticks, and also put the pressure on their offense to speed up by scoring points yourself. You can win the field position battle, get some points on the board, get out by a couple points, put the pressure on Tannehill to have to make some throws and maybe get away from the running game. I think a combination of that and stopping them on early third downs will throw their running game out of rhythm, which happens to us all the time.
Yeah,
that's I think a great way to put it in a simple aspect. It's so that was perfect.
Yeah, I think all you guys make good points. I mean, so I'll just add on form tackling. I mean, you got to be fundamentally sound when it comes to tackling a big back like Derrick Henry. And another thing that I think would be huge is if we come out flat again, and in the second half they can just Derrick Henry can get going. He can just get rammed down your throat like Kyle on a Friday night. Like you're gonna be in for a world of hurt. And you don't want to see that. You don't want to be standing on the tracks when old number 22 comes barreling down there.
You're absolutely right about it, to be perfectly honest. And that's
I'm
what
kidding, Kyle.
Derrick
You're a
Henry
nice guy. You don't do
generally
that.
does do better in the second half because he wears down that defense, to your point,
Yeah.
Reed. So you're 100% right. Getting points, like we said last week against Dallas, which they didn't execute, you got to get up, so you're forcing them to throw. And that's what you have to be able to do against the Titans. Because right now, I think Tannehill is the last in the league in air distance for longest air yard distance at like 40 yards or something like that. So it's not like they're hitting deep downfield. You want him to force him into that situation because they haven't been doing it a lot, and that's going to put you in favorable situations. But let's get into breaking down this game. Thank you for your questions, everybody. Let's start this with Wizzy. What is your breakdown of this game, Wizzy? How do you think it plays out, and what do you think the score prediction is and MVP?
Well, my prediction for this game, I see it having, like I just said. Well, I'm going to be optimistic. So for me, we're going to stop them early, and we're going to score some points early. My prediction, honestly, is I hope that we come out and start strong. I hope this is the game Ron Rivera decides to turn that ship around, and they come out and surprise all of us. And Monday we're talking about, hey, who knows? Maybe we got something here. I think the MVP would have to be Carson Wentz for not making the same mistakes, controlling the offense, having a better call of it, and driving us down the field one way or another.
Yeah, I love it. What do you think, Hall?
I think that, like Wiz said, they got to come out early. They got to be able to.
They have to.
The defense has to come out and play like they've been playing for the past couple of games, where they're starting off great. They're holding the run. They're bending. If they do bend, they're not breaking all the way. Get out like Wiz said earlier. Stop them on early downs. Throw their offense off schedule. Get them in third and 5 plus, third and 7 plus, and hopefully, if the defense can come out, get some early stops. With Brian Robinson being back, hopefully give a little bit of a jolt to the team. Hopefully they get on the board early and they're able to kind of just do what Ron Rivera wants to do, which is run the ball, time of possession. So my MVP for this is going to have to be – this is a big Gibson game right here. I think, like Pete said, they got to be able to kind of do what the Titans do, stay in first in the second and short, third and shorts, first in the manageable, second and manageable, whatnot. And they got to get him in the passing game like they did against Jacksonville, where he was running out of the backfield. He was lined up in the slot, getting mismatches on safeties and linebackers. So, but yeah, I think this is got to be a big Gibson game. So that's going to be my MVP. I think Washington wins it. A low-scoring game. I'll go 20-17.
Real quick, you know what I would love? Would absolutely set the team on fire? First drive of the game, Brian Robinson scores his first career touchdown.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Long-ass run or something up the middle.
Talk about a fire lit under the team.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're 100% right.
That would be so nice. Yeah, I mean, obviously the starting early thing, that's been our Achilles heel for the last 3 weeks. So that's definitely that's got to change. And like you guys said, the defense has to keep up what they're doing. Tackle, don't let Derrick Henry get going. Don't let make Ryan Tannehill beat you at this time. But I think that Terry McLaurin with Jahan Dotson out, and Terry, you got to get him involved, but you also can't force it because the coverages he's going to see, but he's your best playmaker. He's the best player on the team. You got to get Terry involved, and you should do it early, and hopefully he can pick up some of that slack without Jahan Dotson. But really, all wide receivers would have to have a good game because Dotson's been so valuable in big situations, whether that's in the red zone, catching a touchdown pass, or just catching a ball deep downfield that's a little bit underthrown or something. Dotson's been so good. So the guys are really all going to need to step up. But, hey, Curtis Samuel's played well. Terry, of course, we know who he is. So I'm excited, man. I really think that this could be a game where they come out swinging.
Yeah, my biggest concern with this game is forcing Ryan Tannehill to make aggressive throws because he's the 5th least aggressive quarterback in the league right now, but he's 10th in completion percentage. So he's hitting guys that are open. And you have to make sure that you're strapped on these wide receivers. We cannot continue to have wide receivers run freely because that's when Ryan Tannehill will do his best impersonation of what Cooper Rush did, where he has no business of doing that but still does it anyway, and it's just aggravating. So you have to be able to stifle him in that sense. My biggest key for the game is third downs. Tennessee's offense is 18th on third downs. Ours is 6th. Their defense is 5th on third downs at a 31.25%, and we are 4th. That's going to be huge for this team because you're meeting one juggernaut is meeting the other one in this sense. And third down is what's going to extend drives, and it was what is going to produce points like Wizzy talked about earlier, keeping them on those long first and second downs, not allowing them to get big chunk plays and for that third down to be short, to not allow that to happen. And that's huge in this game. And the other aspect is the red zone. They're first in red zone conversion rate on offense at 90%. That's just disgusting. But Washington's red zone is 13th with a 52%. It's going to be huge. That being said, I'll bite the bullet for us. I'll be the one to do it because I don't think I've ever done this before on this show. I don't think I have, to be perfectly honest. I think they tie 20-20. I think Terry McLaurin is the MVP. I'm not picking him. I'm not picking him to lose. I won't do it.
Love that for you. I'm going to go Commanders getting back on track, man. And look, I say this, and then every Monday or Tuesday, I'm like, why don't I just remember what the pain felt like on Sunday and apply it to the next game? But I'm a sucker, man. That's what an abusive relationship does to you. You lose sight over what happened and you forget about it. And you're like, you just don't know him like I do. And the Commanders are going to win this game. And they're going to get to Ryan Tannehill so much that Malik Willis is going to come in, and he's going to.
I actually don't want that to happen.
Neither do I. That's what I was about to say. He's actually going to get in there, and he's going to have a decent game with his legs, which we struggle with, but we're still going to hold on. We're going to get the W, and it's going to be 27-24. Bob.
All I'll say is that they are well equipped to handle Malik Willis at this stage. Malik Willis's passing game is not where it should be, and they've done a good job against the quarterback read option issues this season. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, they did a good job in that breadth. They just allowed them over the air yards, and I'm not concerned with Malik Willis in that breadth, but Lord knows he could have a career day. His coming out game against us, because you never know, right? It's usually how it happens. But Wizzy, I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother. Being able to talk to you again. I love following you on Instagram and on Twitter. We're always conversing about some nonsense going on Twitter. But before we get out of here, if you wouldn't mind, just want to plug in your social media handle, just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet and would like to.
Yeah, man, just follow me at WizSkins on Twitter or IG. I really appreciate you guys having me on, man. I love all three of you guys. Love the whole Washington community. Love-hate relationship, of course, but still love them all. That's why I like you so much, man. You keep a positive outlook, and you're keeping things going. You're moving forward, and I appreciate that. We need more fans like you guys. So I hope we get this W. If we get this W, I'm back here next week. If we don't, you won't see me.
If we win, though, I will be calling you back next week because we need the good luck. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We want to hear from you guys. What are your score predictions? How do you think what's going to happen here? Love to hear what you guys think. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And I am the beta baboon, Chris Shook.
Hey, real quick, before we leave, I forgot this question from Aki G, but real quick for each one of us. Wizzy, go first. With the news that broke before the Philly game about trading for Jimmy G, based on his last game, do you think he would have been a better option for us rather than trading for Wentz?
Absolutely not.
Agreed. Yeah. Absolutely not.
No, Wentz's ceiling is way higher when he plays well, and Jimmy G's not like. We've seen the bad Wentz so far. You can still see a very good Wentz for a few games on the line. So no.
And I think we would have had to trade more.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan tried to screw us over so bad.
We don't know what Jimmy G looks like outside of a couple of games in New England without Kyle Shanahan. Yeah. So I would say no.
Absolutely agree. All right. Thank you, Aki G. I'm sorry. I just saw it. All right, everybody. We will see you again on Monday. Good luck this weekend. Please be safe, everybody. And let's pray for this dub. All right. Have fun at FedEx Field. It's Pink Week, breast cancer awareness. So make sure you guys are going out and wearing pink if you're coming out to FedEx Field. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Monday. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!